Yeah, so I come from, well, little overlap with engineering, right? Not too much. Science, chemistry. Most people hate chemistry, right? Why? Why do people hate chemistry? Yeah. But most of life is about chemistry, right? Reactions, right? You can create buildings, you can create all kinds of things. Everybody wants to throw money at building a place. But at the end of the day, it's not really the place. Structure is important, but it is basically interaction between human beings that makes a difference. So anyway, I did a bachelor's in chemistry from Delhi University. Then, being from Bihar, one of the possibilities that normally are given to you by parents, in Bihar is what? What do you think? After bachelor's, क्या करना चाहिए? Civil services. You're from Bihar? No? ABC, UPSC, right? But I didn't want to go into UPSC. I have respect for people who do good work, bureaucrats, but somehow that was not something I wanted to do. And by so I finished my BSc, then I enrolled for a master's in MSc, sorry, a master's in science in chemistry in Delhi University. And then I completely lost it, right? I used to spend long time in I don't know if you've had this experience. You're standing in the lab and you're given a salt test, right? An organic, whatever, what is it called? A mixed salt. And you're supposed to, at the end of 6 hours, understand what are the ingredients. I never got it right. Then you have already inhaled 6 hours of gases from all your friends around you in all the other experiments. So it was most frustrating, right? So I really wanted to get out of science. I didn't want to do UPSC. So the options that time and even now are what? Management, right? Brilliant, right? So, thankfully the dollar rupee exchange rate was not very high at that time. So, I applied to some universities in US and I got an offer at one place called Syracuse University. It's in New York, upstate New York, not far from the Canadian border. Very cold place. I would not advise you to go there during winter time, right? Once we got 42 inches of snow, 3.5 feet in 2 days, right? So imagine how much of snow you're shoveling out, right? So I spent my considerable number of years at Syracuse. I did a MBA and then I got very interested in politics. Right. But I will challenge your understanding of politics. It's very different. What media tells us about politics is not what is politics. Okay. We're going to get into that today. What is this thing about making a choice, political choice? So anyway, I got really interested in international relations and political science. Right. This was 1989. Anyone remember what happened in 1989? Very significant events world over. 1989. क्या हुआ? Was it 89 or was it? Oh, oh. No, think internationally, outside India. Yeah, collapse of Soviet Union, right? Collapse of Soviet Union. We basically had the entire Soviet Empire, right? Soviet Empire and also the Eastern European countries. Talking about Hungary, Bulgaria, Czechoslovakia, all of these countries, basically one after another, the regimes started to collapse in 1989. Berlin Wall fell, East Germany, West Germany, right? You've probably seen it many times. People actually brought down the Berlin Wall, individuals brought it down, right? So 1989 was really, for me at that time, really had a big effect on me, right? What is happening in the world? Why is it changing so rapidly? What was this whole thing socialism about? What is capitalism about? So those questions, bigger questions, started really making me want to study this topic more. So I luckily got a teaching assistantship in the department, political science department, in Syracuse. So I did my PhD also in at Syracuse in political science. So I have 3 degrees from Syracuse. Right? And then I taught for 2 years at one college in Ithaca College and came back in 98, back to India. I always wanted to come back. I don't know, people say, why did you come back, etc. But I don't know, that's another question. So basically the trajectory is that I have, from science to management to social science, right? I've gone from both sides, not engineering, but the other disciplines, right? But the reason why I'm saying this and I'm sharing this with you is that for me, at the end of the day, what is important is really what are the interesting questions that you really have on your mind, whatever it is. You as an individual, because of your biography or autobiography or whatever you want to say, your personal journey, some things become important and they acquire a priority for you. Right? Are we able to pursue those things that we really want to pursue? Right? Even if perhaps you can't leave your job and do it completely, but can you examine it, investigate it, think about it very deeply, right? So that is basically something that has been, ironically then after coming back from US, then I got into management school, right? None of the universities would accept somebody with chemistry and management and political science background, right? So questions at the end of the day are really what is most interesting. What are the questions that we are asking about the kind of development that we have around, right? So what I want to try and raise, right, I'm also a student. I don't consider myself some, well accomplished scholar, right? Okay, we do publications and all of that, but at the end of the day, it is really the questions that you are after all the time, refining the questions, right? So today we want to basically examine what I'm calling, and we see it all around us. I'll give you so many examples also, and I'm sure you understand it all in your own way. What is, this institutional collapse around us? Everywhere, institutions are collapsing. Right? And when institutions collapse, I would submit to you, and here, this is the politics here. When institutions collapse, who gets most affected? Who? Which kind of people? Stakeholders, but which kind of stakeholder? I'm also a stakeholder, right? I have a flat on the 11th floor, nicely built IIT apartment, right? I have a 7th pay commission, which is in the top 1% of the income ladder, actually speaking, right? Although I can't buy a flat across IIT in Hiranandani, right? 1 BHK is 1.5 crore. I'm not saying it's desirable either, but so there is 0.01% also, but I'm in the 1%, right? So I'm also a stakeholder. I'm not being affected very badly by the institution collapse. Who is being affected? Sorry? Yeah, very good point. People who don't have a voice. You should go to Deonar. There's a place in Bombay called Deonar. Malum hai? Dumping yard. Yes. Yes. Now here I have a very simple question. Why is my waste and your waste, why should our waste go to somebody else's backyard? आपने खरीदा है, आपने consume किया है, wet waste, dry waste, whatever it is. Why should it all get accumulated, hundreds if not thousands of metric tons every single day, right? Why should it go to somebody else's? Not in my backyard. NIMBY, NIMBY, right? It is to be called. Not in my backyard. तुम्हारे backyard में तो ठीक है, not in my backyard, right? Do you think it's a political question? Social, political नहीं है, social है, हाँ? ये word politics बोलने में मुश्किल होता है, because then we take sides and we get caught up in controversy, etc. Why is it not a political problem?
As per my understanding, the kind of politics is that I want to keep my home clean and put it outside my home. It is anyway. Right?
Politics is basically what do you do with resources that you have available, right? At the end of the day, politics is only that I have a right to this water, you don't have a right. Suppose I make that argument कि आपको जो पानी आपके सामने है वो you don't have a right to drink that water, but I have a right. On what basis will I make this argument? Can I make this argument? बना सकते हैं, कर सकते हैं. We are doing it in Bombay. We don't do it very obviously and very explicitly कि no, you can't get water, I will get water. But the way the whole system has been designed, basically it means that you will not get water and I will get the water. Right? It means that you will not get housing, I will get housing. You will not get credit, I will get credit. Right? So, these are the resources we have with us, right? Resources for some basic level of living are these things, 7-8 things mostly. Roti, kapda, makan, movie देखा होगा आपने, देखा है? Once upon a time, Manoj Kumar, right? Right. Who else was there? Oh, I don't remember now. I remember Manoj Kumar. आपने देखा है? Yes? Okay. Right. So, along with, Roti Kapda Makan, basically some of you add other things. So, the point is access to those resources and how do I make an argument that I should get those resources fairly distributed or unfairly distributed. Right. So, those are some things that we want to talk about today. Okay. Because at the end of the day, at the end of the presentation, I would like us to think about the question is, those who are being affected, as you say, are those who don't have a voice. Right? And how can we think, and that is the Tata Center mandate, and nothing unique about our mandate, but mandate is how do we think about people who are relatively voiceless, who are not able to articulate their needs, etc. Right? How do you create products, services for them? Right? That is basically the connection. Okay. Okay. So basically, these are some images. What do you think they are? Basically, livelihoods. Right. And if you think about livelihoods, basically what we are saying is, how can we live within local means, right? I also teach international business, so I can give you a lot of statistics about, how much resources are being brought from very far away to feed our requirements. But I think that is also very, what should one say, unsustainable, right? But mostly, how do people live with their local resources available around them, right? That's basically how you make a livelihood, okay? Without depending too much on the market or state. Can I make a living without having to always go to the state and say, my baap, please give me some help, etc., right? Or depend on the market, which is mostly dominated by big players, right? So, livelihood is one part. How do I acquire some skills, appropriate skills to improve my livelihood, right? So, if you are a farmer, can I know better about the soil conditions, the water conditions, all those things, right? If you are a carpenter, all of those things require some skills. Higher education is also about giving skills. It's not only about giving skills, but it's also about giving skill, right? I just mentioned a few more. And if I have to sell something, can I sell it in the market? You must have heard of these, what are they called? Mandis. Kabhi gaya aapne? Mandi kabhi gaye? Where have you gone? Okay, I mean just for buying. Has anyone gone and observed a little bit without, beyond the just purchase? What happens in a mandi? Anyone? Waste to hota hi hai. Uske baad, what is the real, at the heart of the mandi, what is happening? Middlemen, yes. And what happens with middlemen?
The one who produces the goods, the farmer especially, they don't get much, and they sell their product to the middlemen, and ultimately middlemen are the person who earn profit to business, and the consumer is getting at a very high rate.
So the middlemen are really very deep, very, what should be the right word, very well organized. Right. So, and what I'm told, I would love to go and, examine this more closely, but So they basically have some hand language, right, in which they determine prices of what are the goods who are coming in, right. So the farmer, tomatoes, potatoes, onions, whatever it is, right, you may have put in, certain amount of, resources to make 100 kg of tomato, but you will get maybe half the price, right, or a price which is not really good enough for you, right. So basically, how do you sell what you produce in the market, right? Is the market fair enough in accepting what you have to produce? Most of the time, the market is already caught by middlemen, right? It's not only mandis, many other places, right? The middlemen have become very powerful, okay? And lastly, can I get some finance when I really need it? Abhi financing ke liye, what are the options? I go to a public sector bank. They look you up and down, right? Kahan se aaye hain? If you're not from, as you say, if you are relatively intimidated, if you are from a rural area, and you go to a branch manager, they look at, maybe if you persuade them that please hear my case, they might listen to you. They'll ask you, where is your whatever income statement, this and that, right? Although the public sector bank had a very strong mandate that it would give money to to small farmers, etc., right? So public sector banks don't give you. Where do you go to? Money lenders, right? Money lenders charge you 25, 30%, even more. So there is a very strong demand for adequate financing. I need the money tomorrow to expand my business. I'm a carpenter, right? I've got an order, right? The order will help me increase my business, but I don't have the money to do it, right? Can I get the money at that time, right? Within the next 10 days? If I can't, I go to a money lender. Rates of interest are very high. So these are just 4. They could add many more things here. In all of these areas, there's so much work to be done because the very critical ingredient, important ingredient there, that's missing. Finance is missing, market access is missing, skill improvement is missing, right? Or how do you make a sustainable livelihood? All of this is really the problem. Right? So there is obviously a lot that Tata Center can do, or many such centers can do all over the country, right? Okay. So, the other way to put this is that at the bottom of the economic pyramid, the cycle is broken. Cycle of growth, cycle of, what should one say, positive, in economics we use the word positive externality, right? So basically growth cycle is really hampered because of what I showed you previous slide, right? Broken cycle, right? But at the top of the economic pyramid, the cycles are working. They're not doing very well, but they're normally working, right? For people at the top 10, 20%, the cycles are, you can get credit. I get emails every other day. Citibank, 1 lakh loan is available for you. Pehle phone aata tha, right? You'd get so bugged. Then you start telling them a story, what happened today, and then they would say, why are you telling me all this? Do you want a loan or not? So you basically started playing a game with them. But now emails come. I don't need a loan, personal loan of 1 lakh. The people who need the loan don't get it. The person who don't need the loan keep getting it. So the top of the economic pyramid, things are working to some extent, right? IIT is part of that top of the economic pyramid, although trying to make differences. So in all of these areas, and you can add more here, how can we change that broken cycle at the bottom of the economic pyramid, right? Not do it because of philanthropy, वो idea नहीं है, not because benevolence, अच्छा उनको मदद करना चाहिए, कीजिए मदद, but that's not the idea. The idea is that there is a business case to be made, there is a rational argument to be made, कि if, people may be willing to pay a certain amount for a good quality service. Right. Arvind Eye Care, we'll come to that little later. Somebody has spoken about Arvind Eye Care? No? Naam suna aapne, Arvind Eye Care. Where is it based? Any idea? Madurai, started in Madurai. One of the world's best eye hospitals in terms of volume of care that it provides. Simply. Right? And I'm not saying it because it's from India and one should be patriotic about everything. That's not the point here. Right? Arvind Eye Care is really doing an excellent job. So there are organizations in India which do an excellent job given the constraints. So I'll come to those examples a little later. Right? First, I'm trying to motivate the problem. Okay. So these are some things I'm going to talk about. So this is what I tell the students on the very first day. Education is everywhere sold as an escape from the drudgery of everyday life. Right. How many MITs in India? 4 MITs. One is from the place I come from, Muzaffarpur Institute of Technology. One is Manipal Institute. One is in Pune, I'm told, MIT. So there are 4 MITs in India. Right. But would you want to go to that MIT or the one in Boston? Obviously, Boston. Right. So we all want to escape, right? So हमारे पास आसपास है, what is it here? This is one example of the drudgery of life, right? You go anywhere, even in Mumbai, or certainly in smaller towns and cities, right? And I think it's brilliant that the guys who go up on a ladder and they know which line to connect to which guy. I mean, this is, somebody should map their brain, right? This is amazing ability to figure out in all of this complexity who is being connected to whom, right? This is commonplace, right? Traffic. ये तो घाटकोपर में मिल जाएगा आपको, हाँ? Right? Well, why घाटकोपर? Outside IIT. So okay. Yeah. So this is common, right? Our traffic is screaming for attention, but somehow, nahi, this is how we are, right? India is a functioning anarchy. Right? Anarchy hai, lekin function bhi hota hai. What else? I was telling you about Deonar. All big cities are suddenly now almost up to their chin or, to their nose in terms of waste. What do you do with that? BMC has brought out a circular, I don't know how much will they act upon it, that all your wet waste has to be treated within your premises. Right? You could make a compost out of it or whatever you do. You can't send it out. But problem ye hai ki the truckers, the people who take the waste out of your society or whatever, they get money depending on the number of trucks they claim that they have taken out. So there is collusion, right? Instead of 500 trucks, I show 600 trucks because I'm also taking out wet waste, which I should not be taking out, right? So that cycle of corruption, is not easy to break, right? So this is another, this is also fantastic, right? Kya hai ye? This is natural, your car can have a natural scrub, right? If you take it near this lake, this is where it's either Hyderabad or Bangalore, right? So water is almost toxic, right? Air is toxic, right? Pollution, Delhi is one of the most polluted in top 20 cities in the world. Patna bhi nazdeek hai, I should not be very happy keep Delhi hai, so Patna is also very, Raipur, Jaipur, all of these are very polluted. Right. Smart city means now Muzaffarpur has its ability to count the pollution. That's what its smartness meaning so far, right? You can count the pollution. And okay. So if education is sold, as I said, education is everywhere sold as an escape. ये सब escape करने के लिए मुझे भागना है. Syracuse भागना है, MIT भागना है, जहाँ भी भागना है. Right. I went to Australia last week. The population of Australia, anybody can tell me quickly? Good, yeah. 2.5 crore. Absolutely. A continent has a population of 25 million. 8 cities in that continent have a population of 20 million. 8 cities. So the problems of those countries are very different altogether. We are at a different scale, different planet hai hoga, you know. We are accidentally on the same earth, but we are actually orbiting differently, right? The planets are with different orbits. Right? Our scale of problems are of a different kind, different magnitude altogether. Right? But family, friends and society therefore ecstatically calculate the big package waiting at the end of their education rainbow. आप IIT में एजुकेट करो, आपको नौकरी मिल जाएगी, आप भागो यहाँ से. सब कोई भागना चाह रहा है, राइट? मैं भी भागना चाह रहा है. मैंने, I also went to Syracuse. Then I went there and realized that the problems there are of a different kind. The problems have disappeared, right? Some basic problems have been addressed, but other problems. Trump is a manifestation of another kind of problem, right? So, and then media will tell you, right? 4 students grab a package of over 1 crore, right? So media will also keep pumping. So, parents will also get more anxious. Naukri mila usko, ye mil jayegi. So we are all driving towards, insecurity has been developed so deeply inside us that our approach to everything is just instrument. Kaise hum kuch aur kare isse, right? Knowledge an instrument. Knowledge is not making you rethink deeply, but it's mostly an instrument. So classroom, I say that you're pretending to learn and I'm pretending to teach. This is what it has become. Okay. So there's the pot of gold, right? At the end of the education rainbow, right? And we're all striving. पकड़ना है रेनबो को, pot of gold उसमें है, illusion है कि नहीं ये पता नहीं, right? There's no point in, this is the truth. If you think otherwise, you can tell me. I'm open to, being sort of, what should one say, argued on this point. What do you think? This is true or largely true? Largely true? How many people take the JEE exam? 10-11 lakh. Right. Every other day, engineering colleges are now closing because they don't have any students who want to enter. Number of seats in engineering IIT is about 10 to 11,000, including the new ones. If you want to be in IIT Bombay, you have to be in the top 500, right? Which means training for from 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, right? मतलब 5 साल आपने जहाँ फुटबॉल खेलना चाहिए, क्रिकेट, वहाँ बस आप Fourier equation और क्या-क्या जो वही पढ़ते जा रहे हो बस, right? Because everybody is worried. Your society is worried, your parents are worried, your family is worried, right? One of my colleagues says that his brother has put his son in the 6th class in tuition, preparing for JEE. I'm not blaming the parent, I'm just saying the whole way that the system has created this pressure on us, but we are not thinking about the consequences of this. What does it mean? We are not thinking more about what is happening to our institutions, right? Are we creating value in terms of how our institutions are created, etc.? Okay. So, but there is this tension between when we want to run away from something, I think there is I'm calling it a tension, right? Between what? A battle between wanting to hold on to a desire for escape, but also wanting to engage with the problems of society. भाग रहे हैं लेकिन पीछे मुड़ के देख रहे हैं कि हो क्या रहा है, is somebody solving some of these problems, right? If somebody, because at the individual level we feel very overwhelmed. Problem बहुत बड़ा है. What can I do? As an individual, I can't really do. Maybe a little bit in my community I can do something. But the problems are so big that individuals all want to escape. But when they see an institution which is doing something good, then they want to collaborate and join. Right? So there is a problem at the individual level, we are trying to escape, but at the institution level, maybe like a Tata Center perhaps, if we do something in 10 years, people will take notice, acha, okay, they have done something interesting, I'd like to collaborate with them. Right? So there are such organizations which are doing, right? Okay. So trickle-down economics is something, you heard of that maybe, right? Economics mein thoda padha hoga kabhi. It's called trickle-down economics. So basically, if the top 20%, 30% see growth, then some of that growth will trickle down to the people at the bottom. Right? This is called trickle-down economics. But usually what happens in trickle-down economics is that, well, this is how it should work, right? You may or may not like wine, just think of it as, red water, right? We don't. But the way it works is that the wine at the top, keeps the the wine glass at the top starts, becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. So trickle down is not really happening. After 60 years, we still have a pathetic situation in healthcare, primary healthcare, right? You go to even in Mumbai, right? I don't even want to talk about Bihar. Situation is so grim. My sister is a doctor and she's saying, I don't know, it's so difficult to work. You heard about that Gorakhpur incident, young children died because of oxygen. It is happening not just in UP, all over many parts of the country. You go to any government hospital in Mumbai, wherever your city is from, wherever you're from. So we all want to go private to private. My brother is in US, his son got an excellent education in a public school. Yes, resources are much better there, but it's possible to improve a public education, right? But somehow we have ignored that. Okay. And what is happening, and you don't have to go through the whole thing, but basically this is just telling you that the income levels in the last 20 years, 25 years, income levels in the Western world has also been dropping. First time after World War II. Right. So just the first one I'll read, between 65 to 70% of households in 25 advanced economies, right, the equivalent of about 540 to 580 million people, still half of India's population, less than half, were in segments of the income distribution whose real market incomes were flat or had fallen in 2014 compared to 2005. So after 10 years, the incomes had actually fallen. What percent of households? 65 to 70% of households. So they are also very worried. Globally, there is a problem. Trump is getting elected because people are fed up of the promises made by earlier politicians. Not that he has any solution. Everybody is looking for an answer. Right? Indian rural economy, 3/4 of all rural Indians individually earn less than 5,000 rupees per month. 75% of all rural Indians individually, right, earn less than 5,000 rupees per month. Right. And 9 out of every 10 rural households have no member earning more than 10,000 rupees per month. So in Mumbai, I've been here now 17 and a half years. I never feel the effect of a recession. Ask me why. You go to any restaurant, पूरे इंडिया में recession होगा, but cash flows like there's no tomorrow. Right? So there are some places which have all the resources. Right? So the gap between an urban, I'm not saying urban, maybe the bottom 20% of urban population is also having a tough time. Right? But the rural population mostly, right, and the gap between their their lifestyle and what is happening at the top is very sharp. Right? Over a third of rural households own no land and earn a majority of the income from manual casual labor. Right? Completely vulnerable. Out of 360 days, you will get most labor you can get is about 150 to 180 days. The rest 180 days you have to look out for yourself. So there are about 3 to 4 million people in India who are internally migrating all the time. 3 to 4 million. That's a, I think, conservative estimate. Okay. So, basically, what do you think? What will you fill the, if I were to ask you to fill in that blank? Economics, politics or business is basically a struggle over what? What do you think? Gut level. जो मना है बताइए आप. क्या लगता है? Very good. Resources. We're all struggling over resources. A firm is organized because it claims, right? It arguably claims that I can better organize the resources, I can reduce cost and give you a product at the lowest cost. That is why a firm was organized, right? ये तो capitalism में ही शुरू हुआ है firm. उसके पहले there was no firm, right? So the idea of a firm is that I'm going to reduce what is called transaction costs. Right? So how do I best utilize the resource? That is the struggle, what we are really over, right? So making choices under conditions of constraint or scarcity. How do you manage your resource? Right? Making choices under conditions of constraint or scarcity. What kind of choice do you make? Who should get what? Who should get credit? Who should get housing? Who should get water? Right? So this is, I think, an interesting thought that Amartya Sen wrote in a book of his. So suppose we really think about how people divide their resources. Right? So he made a, he wrote interestingly about, say, 3 children. Right? Ram, Radha, Rupa. He did not use those examples, but I'm just using certain names. So there are 3 children who find a flute lying on the ground. They are playing on a beach and they find that here is a flute lying on the ground. Now, I'm going to ask you this question on who should get that flute. They all start fighting. मुझे चाहिए, मुझे चाहिए. Right? Okay, according to you, no, all 3, they are all playing and suddenly they find a flute. तो तीनों को लगता है कि मुझे चाहिए. So we are not saying कि whoever has the maximum muscle power should get it. But if they were to make, like adults, if they were to make a rational argument, then what kind of argument would you advise them? Suppose you are the consultant, right? You are sitting there. हाँ आइए राम आइए मैं आपको बताता हूँ आपका argument क्या होना चाहिए. So what kind of argument would you give? The one who uses it better. Okay, interesting. Why do you say that? उनका व्यू है, आपका अलग होगा, बताइए. Why is use important for you? Okay.
Someone does not know how to use it.
Alright. So then you're saying it's a waste.
They are limited his mind. So it's not.
Okay. So use is important. Any other view?
It must be slotted to all the candidates.
Slotted कैसे तोड़ दीजिएगा आप कैसे?
Slotted time.
Oh, अरे. अच्छा. You want to be fair in terms of usage of time. Not bad. Good suggestion. Good suggestion. लेकिन suppose मुझे तीनों को बोलते हैं कि मुझे सबसे आनंद आता है शाम में फ्लूट बजाने में. दोपहर में तो मैं सोता हूँ. मैं क्या करूँ? शाम को ही अच्छा लगता है. आप कैसे बनाइएगा? तो अब दोनों राम और राधा में लड़ाई होने लगी कि नहीं मुझे शाम को मुझे चाहिए. हाँ, okay, that's another argument. You may agree or disagree. Whoever is poorer relatively. Okay. Any other? दो बता दिए. एक तो use. One is in terms of your economy. Anything else? वही बताया ना, use. How to play the flute, that's what he's saying. Anything else? One other thing is missing here. नहीं वो नहीं बोल रहे हैं अभी सर्वाइवल ऑफ फिटेस्ट आपका नॉर्मल लाइफ इट इज देयर आई विल grab the flute and run away, right? Whoever is the fastest will run away very fast, others will keep chasing. So survival wala abhi, let's put it to the side.
So if all the three are equally eligible, deserving,
Yeah.
so you cannot decide.
Suppose you have to decide. ये आ रहा है ना, 3 आदमी आ रहे हैं आपके पास, आप बैंक मैनेजर हैं कि मुझे क्रेडिट चाहिए, आप किसको दोगे?
Best policies, best.
नीरव मोदी को दोगे? He has lots of connections. कैबिनेट मिनिस्टर फोन करेगा, बॉस आप दे दीजिए इनको पैसा, राइट? मल्लया को पैसा दे दीजिए, और you will give it to a farmer who really deserves it but who has no salary statement or anything. Who will you give it to? Everyday struggle, right? So what did Amartya Sen say? Let's see. So Rupa claims that she claims the flute on the ground because she is the only one of the 3 who knows how to play it. Okay. And the others do not deny this. So Rupa says, I am the only one who knows how to play it, and Radha and Ram say, हाँ ठीक बात है, Rupa को ही आता है खेल बजाने. So this is one school of thought called utilitarian school of thought. ठीक है? Ram, as somebody said, he defends his case by pointing out that he is the only one among the 3 who is so poor that he has no toys of his own, right? और दोनों बोलते हैं कि हाँ मेरे पास बहुत सारे टॉय है. राम बोलता है बॉस मेरे पास एक भी नहीं है, ये टॉय मिल रहा है ये भी तुम छीन रहे हो, एक तो टॉय रहने दो. और दोनों बोल रहे हैं हाँ ठीक है, हमारे पास टॉयज है, राइट? We see this, right? Narega is an example that people don't have, 180 days in a year, you don't have any work. So through Manrega, at least intent, corruption to hoga hi usme. Intent is that we provide you some employment in rural context for the days that you're not employed in terms of farming, right? You're supposed to give at least 120 to 150 days of work. No state has come close to that. Rajasthan was quite active some time back, that is also reduced. I'm told that it's mostly 80-90 days at the most. Okay? What is the third argument? Right? So this is called economic egalitarian school of thought. Right? Radha says, wait. Ram or Rupa, ruko. She points out that she has been working diligently for many months to make the flute with her own labor, and just when she had finished her work, these guys, expropriators, have come along to and grab the flute away from me. So she knows she's the one who's made the flute, right? Made the flute, and for the sake of argument, bana ke kahin, she may have lost it, right? So she's saying, this is mine because I know how to make it. Rupa is saying, I know how to play it. Ram is saying, I don't have anything else. Kisko denge bataiye? Right? Not an easy choice. All of us here will have multiple ways of looking at it. Right? Who should get access to Wi-Fi? Right? अब तो सब जगह आ गया है, in what do you call, train stations, everywhere. Now it's free almost. Right? So this is, we call it policy making. लगता है कि बहुत ही difficult है वगैरह, but this is really basically resource, water, right? Credit, housing, all of this is captured in somewhat in these contradictions and tensions. How do you decide who gets it? Right. And this is true in India, it's true in US, in every country has to go through this question. How do you create a policy which appears fair to everybody? Most difficult thing to do. It's not that it's impossible, it can be done. Right. Okay, I'll come back to this in a minute. So let's put this little behind, to the side rather. Just 2-3 slides on this question of why we call a developing country. Okay, why we call any reason? What do you think? Why we call developing? 50 साल के बाद भी डेवलपिंग हो रहा है, 100 साल के बाद ही डेवलपिंग into what? Right? And why is US called developed? So after 100 years, you remain developed only? I mean, just using those words. Or you become post-developed. So where did this word developing come from? Any idea? Developing, बोलते हैं ना हम लोग, developing country. हाँ, but that is okay, one, but think of the word developing. कौन बोला कि आप developing हैं? Sorry? Or what? Niche? Yes, somebody? डेवलप हाँ, अच्छा ठीक है, और उसको और डेवलप कराओ, किस तरह से डेवलप कराओ?
इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर है, इकोनॉमी की टेक्नोलॉजी है।
सो डेवलप कंट्रीज बता रहे हैं कि आप डेवलप करो। दिस इज अ वेरी क्रिटिकल पार्ट। कौन बता रहा है? हम हमारा अपना ध्यान और अपना व्हाटएवर इज आवर प्लान, आवर ड्रीम्स आर क्वाइट मे बी डिफरेंट, बट द वर्ड डेवलपिंग emerged from what the developed countries told us how we should plan. And that is something I just want you to think a little bit about. Our plans, our growth, our economic 5-year plans earlier, now it has changed, all of that. These are models that we have brought into our country mostly from outside. I'm not saying they're all completely bankrupt. Some of them have some things to say, but mostly our ability to think about our domestic problems is almost always borrowed from elsewhere. So there is a problem there which is not easy to address because it is so, at a much higher level. I'll give you some example, for instance. Okay. Okay. So there is a historian called Madison, Angus Madison, European historian, right? What he did was he mapped the incomes of various continents and some countries across from 1700 to 2000, 300 years, sorry, right? 300 years around. So this is income level of Europe. What do you see? 1820, the income level suddenly goes up. क्यों? Why does it go up? Anything else? Industrialization और कुछ? Yes, absolutely. The language that we are using is a legacy of that influence. Yeah, so you're right. So there is technological innovation, right? But if you read history a little bit more closely, right, there is a close relation between steam engine हम अपने garage में बना के I could have done and made so lot. There are lots of patents on lots of things, right? But to be able to use it commercially is another thing altogether, another challenge altogether. Right? So where did Britain first and the other European colonizers, where did they get the money to be able to commercialize it at a scale that was possible? Like for instance in America, right, the entire continent, you had tracks being put, right? So it required enormous amount of financial support. Where did that money come from? Basically, one argument being made is that most of the money came from colonies. Right? So innovation was important, but to commercialize the innovation at the scale that it was required a huge amount of extraction of resources from other places. Which are the places? They could not go to Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, right? You have to be on Earth. The places on Earth where you could colonize were the so-called developing countries, right? So you see that the increase in investment or rather the increase in income of Europe, is also in some ways paralleling the increase in incomes of US, right, between 1820 to about Second World War. So basically what was happening is that most of the wealth of Europe was being invested where? Not back in the colonies, but in America, Canada and America, because there their return on investment was much higher. Okay. Then you see China. Was China colonized? Yes, no? No. Opium War सुना है आपने? नहीं? Opium War में क्या हुआ? What happened in Opium War? Normally दोस्त को बोलते हैं, some friends, कि अच्छा, here is some opium, would you like to, have a smoke? And if you are the type who would say, no, I don't take ganja and opium stuff, right? So, but here the British were actually saying, boss, Chinese, you must take our opium. Opium is a very, opium war, you should, certainly read up. Wikinomics में आप जाके पढ़िए आप. The Chinese nationalism of 21st century has a lot to do with the way they were exploited during 1850s in Opium War. So England basically forced opium onto the Chinese to get them addicted to opium, right, and open up the Chinese trade, right, because China had a huge surplus, trade surplus with the English, which was becoming very difficult to sustain. Right. So opium was made where? Where was opium grown? Grown in India. Where in India? Bihar, UP. Right. There is a very wonderful book by Amitav Ghosh. You should read that. What is it called? I think it's Sea of Poppies, is it? I should maybe check out. So Amitav Ghosh, unki kitab hai, it's really excellent. I love his work, but even otherwise, Amitav Ghosh, Sea of Poppies. So just read. It's basically historical work. So opium was grown there, taken to Bombay. A lot of people made a lot of money in Bombay in the 19th century. We're talking this city, right? Huge amounts of money were made, right? And that opium was taken from here then to Hong Kong. And from Hong Kong, basically, you entered the Chinese mainland, right? So the income of China also went dramatically down, right? From 31-32% to almost 5%. And India also, you could see sharp deceleration. So, do you see a connection? Europe and US income levels are going up, China and India are going down, right? Dramatic. So, China and India, dramatic decrease. Right. And India, obviously, we know because we live here, was considerably impacted. You must have seen the film Gandhi, right? देखा आपने? Richard Attenborough का जो. So where does he go first for the visit? कहाँ जाते हैं वो? ट्रेन से? नहीं, साउथ अफ्रीका के बाद जब इंडिया आ गए हैं, when he is back to India. चंपारण. और चंपारण क्यों गए वहाँ पर? What type of farmers? Indigo farmers. Indigo farmers. Basically, indigo was grown, right? We had cotton, indigo, opium, all of these things were grown, which was taken out of India to Europe. So, complete collapse of the agrarian economy during the Britishers' time. Zamindari वगैरह, if you get into that, you can, understand it also. Zamindari was basically what? You told the zamindar that you give me 90% of the revenue. 90%. So what do you think would be the interest of the zamindar? He'd also keep extracting revenues from his farmers and the tenants. So there was no incentive to invest in the land. It was only rent seeking. Right? Investment in the land would have happened if you had given them more revenues and they would have cultivated the land, increased the productivity, whatever it is, right? For the longest period of time, all of this cotton was a big, Egypt and India were the two countries in the world which had the highest amount of cotton trade with the rest of the world. Completely decimated. So, Gandhiji did what, right? Basically the whole Satyagraha, etc., basically the burning of, if you remember the film, right? So, the whole idea was how do we become subsistent on our own, etc. So, that goes in another direction. But what I'm saying to you is that developing means developing in whose image? Our own image or our own understanding or somebody else's image of what we should develop into, right? Okay. So, this is just one table which gives you between China and India 1700 income 45% tha, world income. Share of world income in 1700 of India and China was 45%. 45%, two countries, which came down to around 9% in 250 years. Which is now beginning to increase again, right? Which is now being called the Asian century, whatever, right? India, China, Southeast Asia, all of these places are growing quite rapidly. I'm not saying we have not contributed internally to these problems. Obviously, we have also, right? But a large amount of resource, unbelievable amount of resource was taken out unilaterally, right, without any compensation and invested in Canada and US. Right? Okay. So, the Indian development model is attempting to is attempting what no other country in the world has done before. India is most unique in that way because no other country in the world has attempted to do what India is trying to do. What is it? No other country of this diversity and size and once colonized has successfully and democratically industrialized. No other country of this diversity and size, 1.3 billion people, large size. Every 100 miles you go, there is a different in language, different in eating styles, different in so many things, right? Which we cherish. It's not that that's a bad thing, it is heterogeneous, Diversity, size, and once colonized has democratically industrialized. So, if you think of developing countries the size of Brazil, Argentina, these are also bigger countries, right? Nobody has democratically industrialized. They've all had long periods of military rule. Right? So, we are doing something unique, so much heterogeneity and democracy. Please don't get me wrong. I'm a very strong voter of a democratic transition, right? I do not want any military rule and etc. But on the ground, right, trying to create a policy where people can agree about what we should do, because anytime there's a policy, there's so much contestation, right? So, we have a lot of our internal, what should one say, challenges, right? Who should be, how do you give up the land? Farmers have a stake, right? You must be reading in the press about this bullet train from Mumbai to Gujarat, right? Farmers in Palghar don't want to give up the land. Right? They're saying this is the only thing we have. So, India is a unique experiment in the world. कोई और किया नहीं है ऐसा, इतना बड़ा, this level and this scale. Nobody has done it because resources are limited, huge number of people, and we also want a democratic transition, right? Okay. All right. So, we are done at 12:45 or? Okay. So, if you think in terms of pyramid, right, income pyramid, so these are on the left side, yellow is basically 4 income pyramids. The top is basically those who are earning more than 12 lakhs per annum, 1 lakh at least per month. right? And PPP is something you may be aware is called purchasing power parity, right? Purchasing power parity is basically when you compare a basket of goods between India and other countries, right? So based on that comparison, you are creating a income level comparison, right? So tier 1 above 12 lakhs, tier 2, 6 to 12, etc. Those are the bottom are less than 3 lakhs. Okay. So at the top, basically the population number of people at the top is obviously limited, right? 10-15%. Bottom is where most people are. Bottom, tier 4. But being a student also having taught in a management school for 17-18 years, I can tell you very frankly that we never discuss any problems of the bottom of the economic pyramid. Why IIT Bombay? Any place, except for some places like IRMA, etc., right, which are devoted. I don't know if they still do that. Right. Everybody is fascinated with models at the top of the economic pyramid. Right. That is the organized sector, but the organized sector is also less than 10% of the entire economy. So everybody is chasing this limited pool of people, right? So housing, the 30% of flats in Mumbai are vacant. Kyun? Yes, but the other part is that when I'm saying we are all chasing this segment, then housing is really not for living, housing is for investment. Right? I'd rather invest in a flat which gives me returns very high, because the whole economics gets twisted, right? When more and more resource chase fewer and fewer people, then you're not using those resources for any use. You're using it for exchange, for investment, everything else. Right? If those 30% of flats could be rented out, or there is a better renting market, whatever. So what we have is, as I told you, credit is coming to me when I don't need it. More resource chasing fewer people, very little resource chasing those at the bottom. So they have the very weird economic conditions, right? So this is a, severe problem, right? Which brings me to my favorite example. Bombay se hai koi aap log mein? Nobody from Bombay. Or who is the nearest to Bombay? All of you far away. Maharashtra se hain aap log? कहीं और से भी और अच्छा बिहार से हैं okay no. So then maybe I thought I would make a point about Bombay and Maharashtra, वो आज नहीं हो पाएगा. So what is interesting about Maharashtra water problem, have you heard of, so 3 years back now, 2.5, 3 years back, we had a severe drought in Maharashtra. सुना होगा, right? Let me give you some interesting facts. So Maharashtra has the highest number of dams, not big or large dams, but number of dams per square kilometer in the world. फिर से बताएं? Maharashtra has the highest number of dams per square kilometer built in the world. So then you would ask the question, यदि इतने dams हैं तो फिर drought क्यों हो रहा है? Common sense question? Yes? So what is the answer? Sorry? Consumption ज़्यादा है या कहाँ dam बना है वो पूछिए ना. That's why I tell you, politics is at the heart of these resources. Where is the dam being built? Where sugarcane production exists. So you divert the water towards sugarcane production. Although much of the construction is also almost useless, right? So most of the water in Maharashtra is directed towards sugar production zone, right? which is mostly, I think, southern part of Maharashtra, southern and Solapur, etc. Right, Sharad Pawar territory, if you want to call it. So, pani, water into Mumbai comes from places as far as 100 kilometers away. There's a place called Vaitarna, right? Upper Vaitarna, Middle Vaitarna. 100 किलोमीटर दूर है, वहाँ से पानी आता है, क्योंकि प्रोफेसर झा को पानी की ज़रूरत है, आईआईटी में प्रोफेसर हैं, राइट, ठीक से पढ़ाना पड़ेगा उनको, बच्चे को पढ़ाते हैं, बच्चों को पानी चाहिए, राइट. So water comes, right, from pipes put in very far away, 100 kilometers away. So put on your economics hat for a while. 100 किलोमीटर दूर से पानी लाते हैं, but what percentage of Mumbaikar gets water? Yeah. How long has this been the case? Forever. Do we get good amount of rainfall? We do. I think it's almost criminal that all this water that we get in the monsoon right now is all allowed to go into the sea or wherever it is. Water harvesting we nahi karte. I think it could solve at least another 10-15% of the problem. To be conservative, I could probably do better. So I get water 24/7 in my flat in IIT. Right? The maid who comes to a house, she lives just outside IIT. She gets barely 15 minutes of water per day. And then you have to put in a line, right? At 5 a.m., you're rushing to put a bucket so that you get some water for the rest of the day. Within 1 kilometer distance, look at the sharp difference. And there's been no concerted effort by the Maharashtra government beyond building dams to really address this problem. Right. They could have made, for instance, that was done in Madras, I think, water harvesting compulsory. I think it was made, but the construction mafia has sort of completely ignored it. ठीक है, पानी आ गया आपके पाइप से, डैम से पानी निकला, right? फिर then it comes to that's hostel 12, right? In the third one. Now put on your engineering hat. Water comes where? Into the house, through the pipes, etc. How old is your flushing technology? Kitna purana hai? When was the last innovation done in flushing? Simple technology, but has huge consequence. What am I trying to say? 60 to 70% of water that comes into my household, in most households, gets flushed down the toilet. किसी बच्चे को यदि आप समझाइएगा, बोलेगा कि यार तुम बुद्धू हो यार तुम लोग. This is most ridiculous. You're bringing water from 100 kilometers away only to flush it down the toilet 70%. Isn't it ridiculous? So the question of resource and who gets it, half of Bombay doesn't get that water, right? Then there is a water tank mafia which charges through your nose, right? We have highest number of dams per square kilometer, उससे भी कुछ नहीं हुआ. जहाँ कर सकते हैं पानी आ रहा है, we are getting so much rainfall, we are not tapping that rainfall. I'm just giving you a very brief glimpse into how we manage our resources. Water as being a very critical resource. Right. Number of housing units built by MMRDA. MMRDA naam suna hoga. What is it? Regional Development Authority. Mumbai something. No, I don't want to get the other M for. No idea? Okay. Whatever. Anyway, so MMRDA builds how many units of housing per year, you think, in Bombay or Maharashtra even? 3,000, 4,000. Ridiculous. आपने बोला 20 million population है, right? Population of China, not China, yeah. Australia. But we are building 3,000, 4,000 units of housing every day, which is ridiculous, like a drop in the ocean. Right? And people are commuting from Virar or very far away. 2 ghanta, people are every day on the train, right? 2 hours each way, right? So just in very basic practical terms, if you start to think about how the city has been designed, how our transport is designed, how our water systems are designed, how our healthcare systems are designed, how our education systems are designed, you see that just ordinary thinking would make you sit back and say, what is wrong with us? Right? We can't dismantle the Mumbai city and say, okay, let's rebuild it. Obviously, we can't do that, right? But you can somewhat improve, for instance, transport. Or you can build better housing so that people don't have to live very far away and commute, right? So there are many such issues. Most, as I said, housing is so expensive. In Hiranandani, 1.5 BHK. So there is another person I know who's building, or they want to build 1 million low-cost housing across the country. 1 million. His name is Jerry Rao. He is chairman of a company called Value Budget Housing Corporation. Before he was a CEO of Emphasis. Naam suna hoga, Emphasis ka, right? So low-cost housing basically, and then he tells me so many stories about how difficult it is to get land and to construct, because there is a huge demand, less than 20 lakhs. Right? Would you not want, if possible, to be able to afford a house which is less than 20 lakhs, not 1.5 crore? 1.5 crore though is ridiculous because it is all about market conditions, that is, increasing the price. Right? So 20 lakhs is maybe doable, still maybe out of reach for many people at the bottom. Right? But even for 20 lakhs, you can't do it inside Bombay because the cost of the land is so expensive. So you have to go to Palghar, you have to go to parts of Thane, right? So you pick up any issue which deals with the wider public, right? And you just examine it for a little while and you'll see so many problems that exist, which also means that there are, at the end of the day, several opportunities to address these problems. Right? So, one way, for instance, the milk problem in India. Right? You've heard of NDDB, right? National Dairy Development Board. Country's dairy cooperative network claims about 10.7 million individual farmer member owners, covers 96,000 village level societies, includes 170 milk producer unions, etc., operates in more than 285 districts. Milk production increased by 4.7% per year since 74. The per capita availability of milk in India has grown from 107 grams to 213 grams per day in 20 years. Right? So the NDDB deals with 1.2 crore liters of milk every day. Very remarkable story. Mr. Kurian ka naam suna hoga aapne, right? He's written an, I think, autobiography where he wrote that when he started this, he would get letters written in blood. By whom? Not some romantic person, right? Middlemen mostly. That we will see how you can disrupt the nature of milk supply because they captured the but milk in India, we take it for granted, right? The dairy boards, and many other cooperatives have grown on the same kind of style as the NDDB, National Dairy Development. Right? So this is a huge achievement. Right? A lot of people had to come together, right, to do this. Okay. Credit, as I've been telling you about credit for a long time, right? Grameen Bank. Where is it? Grameen Bank. Where did it start? नाम नहीं सुना है? मोहम्मद यूनुस, sorry. Bangladesh, yes. So there is actually, आप लिख लीजिए, and it will be nice if you actually go back and listen. So on YouTube, there are lots of videos of Muhammad Yunus, but there is one called TED, the TED Talk. Huh? Muhammad Yunus, right, TED Talk of Muhammad Yunus. It's about 10-15 minutes. If we had time, we could have played it, but basically, in this, he's giving a talk, short talk, and he says everything that traditional banking did, we completely inverted it. Uska ulta kiye. So, traditional banks mostly lent out to men. Not that they said it, we'll only lend it out to men, but that's how it was. So, we did the opposite. We lent it only to women. Okay. Traditional banks gave individual loans, we did the opposite. We gave only to groups. Right. So basically he goes on and talks about that, and so Grameen Bank is remarkable for being able to provide capital, small amounts of capital, right, to groups of women, 8 to 10, basically so that they can create some small businesses, right, whatever it is, poultry, cattle, whatever it is, right, weaving. So the critical thing about finance is that you should get the money when you need it, not 6 months later, right. I want the money tomorrow or in a week's time, can I get it, right. So Grameen Bank really helped. So you had 95% of its 2.3 million customers are women with a 95% rate of return. Only 5% default. You think that's good? I think that is excellent. Right. Nirav Modi nahi hai udhar. Right. Obviously you'll say the stakes are much lower, but right. So it's fascinating. I would really urge you to read a little bit more about the Grameen Bank and Yunus story. आप YouTube पर जाइए, at least there are 4-5 very interesting videos of his. Okay. Yeah, a few minutes left. So I'll just mention briefly about, Arvind Eye Care, and I'll close. Okay. So Arvind Eye Care has conducted the largest number of eye surgeries by any hospital in the world. Largest number of eye surgeries by any hospital in the world, employing the same advanced techniques and equipment as done in the US, but at a fraction of the cost in the US and free up to 60% of the patients. So 60% patients are treated free, 40% pays for the other 60%, cross subsidization. The cataract you basically have to replace the lens, right? Because your lens has got obscured, right? So the lens that they were importing from US or Europe was about $70 a piece, right? So if you wanted to scale it up for poor people, $70 a piece obviously was not going to make, not sustainable. So what did they do? They said, we will produce it in India. They brought down the cost from $70 to, what do you think, $2. So, it's amazing. Arvind Eye Care now is expanded from Madurai to other cities, etc. Right? How do they do it? If you take a blade, not cut here, but and the blood that comes out is the same as the blood, he's another Indian, right? Just like you and me. Same kind of blood, same kind of air and thing that we breathe, but how is it that some companies, companies or organizations can do such an excellent job? Right. Akshay Patra नाम सुना है आपने? क्या करते हैं वो लोग? Midday meal, right? So they are in 12 to 14 states. So we visited one of the centers in northern Karnataka, and it's amazing the kind of work they do, the quality of food that they prepare and they give to young people, right? Children mostly. So very meticulous, right? So we ate the food, very nutritious, hot, good food, right? And they have centers in 12 to 14 states. There's so many such organizations, right? But as I said, in the management school, वो सब नहीं पढ़ाया जाता है, right? You will only think about strategy at the top, right? So maybe that is useful to some extent, but I'm saying there is, I don't want to sound pessimistic, right? And not, the point was that, but we cannot shy away from understanding the depth of a problem. If you understand the depth of the problem, मेरा sense है कि थोड़ा impatience आएगा अंदर में. Because superficially we'll be in our bubbles, right? At the end of the day, I can still remain within a bubble of my own. I'm in the 11th floor. I get a nice view of the Navi Mumbai. Sunrise dikhta hai, right? So I'm in one of India's best institutions. Why do I need to care about anything else? So the complacency, etc., starts to set in after some time. But if we grapple with the problems more deeply, then we understand that this problem is not going to go away by itself. So if you understand that the problem is very deep-seated, तो थोड़ा सा अंदर में हलचल कुछ impatience पड़ेगा. Maybe we'll try and do something about it. That's the way I'm thinking, right? So it's not to create pessimism, but to create impatience. Are we impatient enough to deal with our problems? Because we need to improve our institutions. And mostly it is our generation which will do it, and the younger generation, right? This is the next, my sense is the next 20, 30 years is very crucial for India. Because population pressures are increasing very high. People want to migrate to urban areas. If I can migrate from Muzaffarpur to India, why can't the, local laborer also migrate from Bihar to Mumbai? Why should only a professor migrate? He or she also has a right to migrate. But the pressure on the city increases. So how do you manage those cities? Because now in 20 years there will be more people in urban areas than in rural areas. So anyway, the way to deal with this problem is to collaborate. अकेले करेंगे तो बहुत मुश्किल आएगा. So we have to find institutions. I think Tata Center is a good start. About now 5 years old. There are many such centers coming up across India. So please find some ways to, interact with them, refine the problem, find an opportunity, engage. Because when you find a young person giving you an answer to a problem that you think is so difficult, right? Kal hi padha tha aapne, yesterday or day before there was this fire, right, in Mumbai. Where is it? That tall building? Sorry? Crystal Tower, thank you. And there was a story about a 10-year-old girl. She rescued 13, 14 people because in her school there was a drill about how to figure out what happens during a fire. And all the older people had no idea. Right? So she, whatever, I think she may have taken the stairs or something, right? Because you don't use the lift, but people are using the lift during a fire. So here is a 10-year-old who is just using some basic common sense. I'm not saying all our problems will be solved by 10-year-olds, but I'm just saying that young people, sometimes grapple with the problem directly, right? We get complicated when we, over the years. But anyway, the point is that please interact with institutions which are trying to do something, and hopefully we'll see some better, sunlight or rays of hope in the future. Okay? So thank you for listening, and have a good journey.
How did what we started from, institutional collapse?
Yes.
What we can conclude about institutional collapse?
So what I'm saying is institutional collapse is existing in, most government institutions are collapsing, right? And what I try to do is to give you a sense of why some of this collapse is happening. If these institutions continue to collapse, then we will not be able to really find, some answers to bigger problems like housing, water, sanitation. Individually, I can build 100 toilets, but I need to work with the institution, etc., to be able to. So, institutional collapse is in the background, yet there are opportunities emerging in spite of the collapse, and there are organizations like Arvind Eye Care, etc., which are trying to do something. Right? So, if we take into account the institution collapse, can we still collaborate and engage with organizations like different kinds to be able to do something on the ground? Right? So, the institutional collapse is just to give you a wake-up call, if at all. The things are in such shape, but still there is an opportunity to do something differently. That's the point I'm trying to say. Okay. Any other quick questions? Yes.
Problems, like I find 1,000 problems, and each problem there are so many constraints. So, what problem to work with and how to select? Like in every problem, there would be many constraints to do it. So, like if I'm a person to select, I won't be able to find it because from every end I'm getting some problems, constraints. So, how to select the best problem and to work with.
No, there is no magic trick or magic, what should one say, magic way to find out. I think something that you feel quite strongly about, it may not be just one thing, but you pick up one of those things, right? Because I'm also interested in, several things. But at the end of the day, I have limited energy. I want to be able to concentrate on, maybe 2-3 things perhaps, right? I think a good way is to really talk to a lot of people. Let's suppose I pick up housing, right? What are the 10 different ways that you look at housing, low-cost housing, right? When you interact with other people, then mostly I find my energy multiplies, right? So don't think of the problem by yourself. You will keep getting overwhelmed. That's too big a problem, right? So you need to find allies, alliances, other people whom you can share, talk to them very basically, okay, what does that mean, right? And once you start understanding the problem, maybe you will find some niche, some area where you can do something about it. Right? But each of those problems, you're right, will have multiple ways of looking at it. But if you've solved even a small problem after 2 years, 3 years, it will give you a sense of accomplishment which will take you further. So, yeah, existentially, we are always going to be affected by these problems. Yes?
One thing I observed we are here for 5 days. And I belong to mechanical, my colleagues belong to civil engineering. And they have given some for work, for experimental work. And within the 3 or 4 days, 2 and 3 hours, we prepared some good demonstration because TCTDG provided such kind of infrastructure to us. And what I am feeling that if I go in my college and I give such kind of demonstration to students, I think the 4 months, 5 months they can't do because the infrastructure was not there. Even though the student is talented, they can do. So is it not a failure of top crown and such kind of environment?
Failure of who, sorry? Failure of?
Failure of this high top management itself. Even though this BOP is good, they are providing it, everything. We can do, but this is a failure of this crown, and how can we convey it?
Right. You're saying how do you persuade the top management to think about these problems?
Yes. See, 3 days we have prepared this everything. I think every has been completed here because the basic thing was that this TCTD has provided every infrastructure to us. The availability is here.
Right.
Small things they are ready to give it. So if there's such kind of infrastructure if we give to those colleges, so I think there is no any difference.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah, I do.
Yes.
Yes.
We are thinking of that.
Policy. Green lab, Atal lab are also
The policies you are implementing is the very tough thing.
yes, definitely. But in the academics, that happens in the other.
My sense is that, please, yeah, you're right to point out resources are very critical, but also sometimes our internal resources are lacking. External to lacking hai, lekin maybe the external has become so overwhelming that our internal is also lacking. By that I mean that, we should take out our students and just, take them to Deonar. कि दिमाग में कुछ ये होना चाहिए, there should be some trouble in our minds, right? Unless we start asking some more difficult, critical questions, right? This change regarding resources, etc., will not come about naturally. Right? If students go to the head of the department or whoever it is, कि this is a problem, can we do something even small about it, right? And if this keeps happening, I think my hope is that, well, deeply embedded inside us, the most cynical person also, there is something that may trigger the need for some change. But you're right, the circumstances are quite difficult. But my sense is that even IIT students, right, I've seen a real transformation when we take them outside. And not let them just take them outside, but also the whole experience is in a way guided along in some ways, right? So we did that last year for 10 days. I saw a considerable change in the way they started viewing these problems. When they saw young Dalit women in, say, Madurai, right, who over 15, 20 years had made a big change in their lives, right, away from alcohol, all of those things, right. They had built a 4-storied house. This was all Dhan. There's a foundation called Dhan Foundation, the THAN, Tata Trust Support. So, these women articulating very confidently about what they'd done, more confidence than our MTech students had. Right. So when I get to see somebody who, with under lesser resources, is more confident than I am, so दिमाग में कुछ तो हलचल होती है ना कि यार what is happening here, right? Why is this person thinking about his problems better, organized better, engaged with the community better, right? So I think one important part is to expose ourselves and to our students to what is happening outside, and ask a lot of questions when we go out. It will not solve everything, but it will create a lot of momentum, I think, inside. Right, and that can create more demand for these changes. Because नहीं तो आजकल तो बस ये काफी है लाइफ के लिए, right? You just need a device to keep you all, engaged 24/7. So, well, good luck. Hopefully, we'll find some solution to our problems. Thank you.